it's also the fact that, these businesses, Western businesses, go into these countries, the capital then gets sort of taken back to these countries, and then from there, that's how they have such a high consumption, and it's creating this extremely unbalanced, I guess, world and economy as well for each of these countries.
Yeah, except that, in the past, in the days of Dutch East India Company and British East India Company, these companies went there with their fleets, and they even had to build up their own troops to subjugate the local populations. But then somewhere along the way, they realized that, well, it's better if we get the taxpayer to shoulder that burden, and we get the state to do all the military side of things, and we'll do the business side of things. So then you had the government troops going there to subjugate the local populations. But then, the even better approach, which is what they do nowadays, is to enter in and to co-opt the local governments and to give them loans that they have to repay. And then the people who manage the local governments and the local military, secret police, the whole repression apparatus, they get rewarded in order to keep their own populations in subjugation. And the wealth flows westwards, not only in terms of raw materials, but also in terms of repaying the debts. Because if you're gonna develop a coffee plantation in Haiti, somebody's going to have to take out a loan, right, to make that happen, and that somebody is going to have to pay that loan back with interest. And so not only will coffee flow westwards, but also repayment of those loans. So the raw materials, the produce, as well as a loan repayment, all flow back to the Western financial centers. So that's why, after centuries of colonization, all these resource-rich nations of the global South are still poor. They're still underdeveloped. They still don't have nuclear power plants. They still don't have adequate infrastructure. And this is by design. This is not by accident. It's by design, because if they were allowed to use that capital domestically to develop their own industries, their own infrastructure, then they themselves might be using up their own produce and their resources at home, and they would compete with Western capital for access to those resources. So the prices of commodities would be higher. The availability of those commodities would be less than what it is now, because they would be using much of it domestically. And so for Western financial interests, part of the strategy has been to keep these nations impoverished chronically, and they have done so. That's why the state of the world is what it is.